Hello friends, welcome to Technopoints. In this video, we are going to learn about runtime permissions in our Android application. What are runtime permissions? Well, while working with Android, we know that we need for accessing each and every detail, we need permissions. So just like a indirect permission. So we just declare that permission in the manifest file and we are good to go with the permission. But there are some category of permissions that are called dangerous permissions, and we call this as dangerous permissions because these permissions deal with the user sensitive data, like reading the contacts, reading messages, reading emails, or even accessing some hardware like a microphone or camera. We need some permissions and we need to show specifically dialog to the user, and if we want to allow the user to access that specific hardware or that data. That's why they are called as dangerous permissions, because we are actually handling the user's data. And that is exactly what we are going to learn in this tutorial. So in this tutorial, I will show everything about the runtime, asking runtime permission from user. We'll see how to request the permission, how to generate that permission dialog, and how to get the response from the user if the user has allowed or denied the permission. And if the user has permanently denied the permission, then what are the steps that we can take in order to convince user to get the permission. So let's get started. So here I have opened a new blank project, that is Hello World program, in which we will be implementing all this tutorial concept. So let's say we are going to ask two permission. One is a post notifications permission, which is a permission for showing the notification to the user, and second permission is a camera. So let's start. Open the manifest, and we have to declare the permissions here at first. Use this permission Android permission dot post notifications, and another one is a camera. So this camera notification needs something extra as a user feature. So just alt enter, click on that, and it will appear here. So that is the work done for the Android manifest here. We'll close this and we'll start with the implementation. So we'll create a one button here instead of this text view, in order to when we click on that, user will system will ask the user to allow the permissions, and the dialog will appear. So go to the coding, and here we replace the string with ask permissions, and let's give it a id permissions button, and make it as a button. Okay, now it's good. Now let's go to main activity, and here first of all we are going to ask the two permissions, more than one permissions. So we have to create an array of that. Let's create an array where permissions list equal to array of, we have to define all the permissions here. So let's create post notifications, and when you will complete, dialog will appear. So press alt enter and input that. Post notification has been entered here, and second one is a camera. So type camera, and we want one from Android manifest.permission, the camera. So we have defined this permissions list. So this permissions I want from user. Okay, now let's find that button with find view by id dot id dot permission button dot set on click listener on that. What went wrong? I think there is something wrong here. Let's do think project. Yeah, the error has been gone. So these are the Siri errors that are not new to us. This comes sometime while working with Android. So sync is done, and now here we'll first check if our app has already those permissions granted. So we have one function for that, check self permission, and as you can see it accepts permission which is of type string, and we can simply define the permission directly here. But we have more than one permission in it, and we want to check for all the permissions if the user has granted all the permissions. So we'll check with one by one. For permission, sorry, permission list, permissions list, for permission in permissions list, and here we'll check for each one. Val result equals to check self permission, and here we will pass permission, and for above we'll declare one parameter. Are all permissions already granted? And we are first setting is as a true. And if we have some permission, some permission as a if result, now we can compare that. So we can compare that with is not equals package manager dot permission granted. So this is actually integer value. This is 0, and this comes from this function. So if the result matches with permission granted, it does not matches with permission granted, then we are setting are all permissions already granted as a false, and we are breaking the loop. Else, if we have traversed the whole loop and we still have the are all permissions granted as a true, then it means user app has already all the permissions. So we can return as a let's do one thing. We'll create a separate function for this one. Okay, right from for here, and say private fun check permissions, and this function will return a boolean value, and we'll paste the code here, so we don't need this parameter here. And okay, we need this one and not this. Yes, we'll break, or we can simply return from here itself as a false, and after that we'll return as a true. So this function will check if we have granted all the permissions which we have requested, and if there is a yes, then there is no problem. Check permissions. If it returns true, then there is no problem. We can directly start using the all the services, and we'll just provide here toast message. Yes, and all permissions already granted. Yes, if we come here, then we know that all permissions have been already granted. And if this function returns false, so that means either all or either one of the uh, permission has been denied by the user, and we have to now request that permission. So in the else block, as we don't have permission, we have to request the permission from the user. So for that, we have function as request permission, and this function takes two parameters. One is a array of string that we have declared here, so we'll pass that permissions list here. And second one, it shows as a request code, and that type is integer. So what is request code? The request code is something that is used to uniquely identify a permission request. So basically, let's say if our app has requires 6 different permissions, and it is not a good idea. So when use to show them all at once. Let's say when the user start our application and we are just bombarding the user with see all 6 permissions, then the chances might be that user will think that this app wants to know so much data of my device of mine, and there may be chances that your user will deny the most of the permissions, all of the permissions to so we what we can do is we can group the permissions accordingly, like 2 2 and 2 and 6 permission as that, and we'll ask the permission specific permission only when they are needed, so their functionality is needed. So for each request we raise, permission request we raise, we have to provide a specific number request code that can be any integer value we can define, and we can just use that to uniquely identify that, and we can proceed accordingly. So let's declare here some value as request code. Let's write permission request code. We can use here different naming conventions according to our requirement, and let's define it as 1 for now and pass second parameter in here, request permission code. Okay, so once the compiler comes to this function, it automatically generates a UI dialog asking the users for the specific permissions. Now that is the work done, but that is not done yet. Well, how we will get the data, get the callback when the user, if the user has allowed the permission or denied the permission, and if allowed or denied, then what are the permission user has allowed or which ones I have been denied. So we get one callback here, and we have to override the one function of that here. That is, let's click Ctrl plus O to get this dialog for the overridden permission, and let's check permission request permission. Request permission on request permission result. So just double click on this function, and the ID will automatically generate this function for us. So this function, through this function, we get 3 different values as a request code, and the second is there is a permission array, and third one is a grant results integer array. So what are these? So first one is the request code that we have defined here. So we can just match that request code with our existing which we have passed. So if the request code are similar, then we can execute the specific case. So first check if the request code equals permission request code which we wanted, and if this is yes, then we will enter in this block. Second one is a permissions array. So whatever the permissions we have uh, asked through this request, so all this permission will be there in this permissions array. And third one is the grant results. So which permissions have been granted and which have been not granted, all the data contains in this. The granted permission code will be granted code will be 0, and if the user had denied the permission, then the code will be -1. So there is one more concept here which is called as permission rationale. What is that? Well, the permission rationale is comes into play when a user has been presented the dialog and user clicked on deny the permission. Then we have the second chance to let the user ask the user permission, and and this is the most important thing, that we have only 2 chances to show the dialog to the user. If the user has denied the permissions for both of the times, then we don't have permission to again generate the dialog for user. User had to specifically go to settings and then turn on the permissions manually. This is the thing which is not covered in most tutorials, but I would like that to be covered in my tutorial. So for that, we have one function to should show permission rationale. So we have to check that for all the requests. So we will loop over on this grant result, and let's say this grant some permissions, one permission have been accepted, one permission has been denied. So there will not be a thing like grant result will contain only one result. So grant result will contain all of the permission, but with a different status code. That's the only thing, and it will be integer array. So we loop over this integer array and should show permission rational. Okay, here we'll define a boolean value, and let's put it as a false first. Let's keep this value as a true and loop over this permissions array. If, sorry, not if, it should be for permission in permissions. Here we will check if should show request permission rational. So this is the function which tells us should we show the request rational for this permission or not. The scenario will be at the very first time, if you have not requested the permission yet, this rationale will be false because this is the first time. Then let the user choose if we have to allow or deny the permission. If the user had denied the permission, then the second time this function will return as true for that permission, because this is the function which gives a last chance for us to show the importance of this permission. So if this comes true, then we can show some dialog or some toast message like this permission is very critical, or it is needed for the app to function to serve you better or something like that. So we can do all these things here. Choose a permission ration, and here we'll pass the permission. And if what we want to do, if the permission, if this function returns yes, returns true for at least one permission, then we are going to show a permissions dialog, one alert dialog that we will build here, alert dialog. So we'll implement that alert dialog later. Sorry, we'll not directly implement the alert dialog here. We will set this value as should show permission ration. Okay, let's keep this as a false only. Should show permission ration as a true. Okay, and we can also break here, because if one of the at least one permission returns true for this function, then we are going to show the permission ration second time to the user. So this value is now true, and we can use this value to determine if we have to show the permission ration dialog or not. If should show permission rational, if this is true, here we'll implement the alert dialog. Alert dialog to emphasis on allowing permission. Okay, and in the else case, this case will come if the user has denied this permission second time, and after that we will not do anything. We will not able to launch the dialog of asking the user to allow the permission. So this is the restriction put by Android system, and we cannot do anything for that. So here we can just only do one thing. We can present some UI, some dialog, or some toast message to the user. So you had denied the permission. So please go to the settings and allow the permission manually. We are not able to raise the permission dialog again for you. So here again we will be generating alert dialog for permanently please ignore the typos for now. Denied. Let's say our user is very much comfortable with our all the permissions we have asked, and we are good on our stars and we have good luck, and it might be chances that user has allowed all the permission at the first go. Then also the control will come here, because let's understand the flow. The user will at first user will come here, check permission. If the permission is already granted, then this statement will execute. Otherwise, we are going to request the permission with the permission list, and we get the callback here on request permission result. If the user then we will check, we are checking for the rationale, and if the rationale is not true, because if the user has already click allow for all the permissions, then this method will not return a true. This will return a false, because user has already allowed your permission. Then you don't have any need to show the rationale specifically. So again, there will be also control command here. But if we have implemented the alert dialog here that permanently denied and show the user, then we'll be into problem if the user has already allowed the permissions, and then still we'll see this dialog. User will see this dialog. So this doesn't make any sense. So how can we differentiate that if this is the first time where user has allowed all the permissions or user has denied all the permissions? For that, we can check these grant results. So this grant results array will help us to check if all of the status are permission granted. So let's declare one variable here where are all permissions granted. We'll keep it as what should we give, true or false? Let's keep as true, and loop over for this grant results. Result in grant results if result is not equal to package manager dot permission granted. If one of the permission is not at least one permission is not granted, then we can make this value as false, or all permission granted as a false, and can break from here itself from the loop. So this is the criteria now to check if the user has already granted all the permissions in the first go. Are all permissions granted? Then we can perform the functionality here, and for this we'll just show a toast. All permissions have been granted. And here in this else case, this now will be the case where user has permanently denied your all the permissions. So for that, what we can do, we can generate the alert dialog as we have discussed. So let's now try building the alert dialog. We'll make some method here for the alert dialog. Show OK cancel alert dialog. Let's create this method. Okay, this method will accept the parameters as a title. Let's say we have to set a specific title for each instance of the alert dialog, and message that will also be a string, and the third one is a listener, dialog listener. Listener dialog dot on click listener. Okay, so here we'll build the dialog. Alert dialog dot builder will pass the context as this dot set title as a title dot set message as a message dot set icon. We can also set a specific icon here. So let's go to the right click on this app, new vector asset, and we'll use this icon, high priority. As I have already selected this earlier, then this is coming here. So you can just click on this clip art and choose the icon whichever you like. So I'll consider that icon warning sign, and r dot drawable dot icon warning sign. So this will the icon which will be shown on the alert dialog. Dot set positive button, and here we'll set the text as OK for the positive, and it requires a listener. So we'll pass this listener here. This is the positive button. Same way we can do on the negative button. Negative button is no or basically cancel, and we can pass here null because we don't have to do anything if the user click on cancel. Just dismiss the dialog. That will be automatically done. Dot create and dot show. So this function will show the alert dialog for us with the specific title and message, and also the listener. So here we'll call this dialog. Title will be an alert. Message will be, this is the interface where we have the second chance to convince the user for the another permission, for the allowing the permission for the another time. Then we will write something like that. Please allow all the permissions in order to serve you to the fullest. And the third one is a listener. So we can use a lambda expression for this. So here there will be two options: dialog, the parameters dialog, and another one is which. So we don't need any of this. We can directly use here. So if the user clicks on OK, what we have to do? If the user clicks on OK, then we can request the permissions again because we still have a chance. So we can again call the request permissions here, and we can use the same as we have defined above in this method, request permissions, with the same request code. We'll just paste that here. Then system will again present the dialog for the permission which have been denied. So here we can replace the permission list with this permissions, and request call will be the same. So we can comment use this comment now. And here, where is the most unfortunate thing happened, where user has denied the permission, either one permission permanently for both of the times. So we are no longer able to ask the user for the present the user with a dialog. So here we can again copy this alert dialog implementation, and title will be the same, and we can change the message. Please go to set app settings and allow the permissions manually. So we can show this message to the user, and if the user clicks on OK, then what we can do? Well, what we can do, this doesn't have any technical limitation, but what we can do is we can make some idea, like we can show a toast message if the user clicks on OK. Then we can take the user to the app settings page where the permissions have been defined, and can show toast message like please allow all the permissions from here. But Google doesn't recommend that. Google says that respect user decision, and you should not make the user force to allow the permissions again and again. So this is not some maybe ethical concerns or something like that, that is not recommended by Google. But if you want to do, you can do that here. This is the place where you can do that. And you can make the uh, who the user to app permissions page, or you can show Toastmaster or something like that. Is the place here. And we can now remove this comment, and this is our implementation. It is now complete. So here I have started my emulator and the app is now running. Let's try clicking on this ask permission, and the dialog is appearing. Allow permissions tutorial to take pictures and record video. So I'll first allow all the permissions while using the app and only use this time. This will be all same. Like if you click on only this time, then the permission dialog will again appear the next time. Just click on this one, allow. I have allowed the first permission, and the second one, allow permission tutorial to send you the notifications. I'll allow this as well. Here we are getting the list, all permissions have been granted. So it means the control has been successfully entered here. All the permissions have been granted. Now, to test another scenario, let's uninstall our app. I'll run the app again and see, and we'll do something different. Ask permission. We have will don't allow, and we'll click on don't allow. So control has come here saying that please allow all the permissions in order to serve you to the fullest. So control has came here because this for this all the permissions should show request permission rationale have been turned on, because this will be the last chance that you are presenting the dialog, and the system understood that, and thus the system had uh, make this method as return this method as a true, and now you have the chance to make the user emphasis on the this permission. If this permission is important, and you should allow that, otherwise you will miss this, and that you can show the message to the user. If the user clicks on cancel, then nothing will happen, but you still have the second chance to show the permission dialog, because user has not denied the second time, but you will not be able to show this dialog again next time. If you click on OK, then again the permission dialog should appear, and it has appeared as expected. Control came here, we have showed the alert, and if we click user clicked on OK here, this code has been executed, request permissions, and permission request dialog again raised by the system. So this time I allow one permission, and this and don't allow the second permission here. Here it will say that please go to app settings and allow the permissions manually, because app has one permission but app doesn't have second permission. That's why the control came here, because here we have checked the grant results, and grant results had contains one permission as denied, error code. Sorry, not error code, the permission code. And here is a false. We have encountered are all permission granted are false, and the control came here showing this alert dialog. So I click on OK, and nothing happened here. Again we click on this R permission, then all from now always control will come only here, because this should show permission ration will again now every time from now it will show as false, because the second time user has denied your permission, so you have no right to ask the user permission to allow the permission again. So this is the thing we can implement, and if you have uh, if we have this allowed not allowed for both of the permission, then also this will happen. So here we have write the code like this one. If the user has at least one permission that is denied, we'll always show this dialog. And let's check the third scenario, where user has allowed all the permissions and we still click on the button. I'll run the app again, and We click on this ask permission, allowed, this one is allowed, and all permissions have been granted. We'll click on this ask permission, then we'll see the all permissions already granted because we have defined here check permission. This function check self permission and passes each and every permission. So if all of the permissions have been granted, then this function returns true and the control comes here and all permissions have been granted. Toastmates is appear and we are okay to use uh, the sensitive data or whatever the permission we are requested for. We are good to go with that functionality because user has given the is consent. So this is about how to ask runtime permission from user in our Android app. I hope that's clear. I have tried my best to explain from all of the resources. Well, let me know if you like this video. Then please show some love. Click on like button. Let me know in the comment. If you have some questions, put down in the comment box. I will try my best to answer that. And let's try that in your own project and let me know how it helps you. And if my work and contribution have helped you, then please subscribe to this channel Technopoints so that you won't miss the next amazing video. Till then, goodbye, happy coding. We'll meet in next tutorial. Bye bye.